Hello and welcome everyone to Flicker Effect. This is a podcast where each week we chat about the world of film, television, and pop culture. This is episode number 192, and we're recording on Sunday, November 13th, 2016. I'm David Lott. Joining me this week is Bobby Jackson.
What's up, everybody?
Jascha Wilson.
Hey.
And Michelle Curry.
Hello, everyone out there.
How's it going, guys? We got lots to talk about. We got some Star Wars news, some Harry Potter / Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them news, just to name a couple. But usually we like to start off by talking about what we've been watching, and a little movie called Arrival came out this week. You guys all saw it. I'm very curious to know what everybody thought of it. Who wants to go first? Anybody? Nobody? Anyone want to volunteer?
Nobody's bouncing at that, huh?
I
can go first.
I volunteer Bobby Jackson.
Yeah, I'll go. I don't mind going. I'm never afraid to go first. I usually used to go first all the time. So, okay, so Arrival came out, and this was a movie that I'd been anticipating since seeing the preview a few months back. It looked like something that was going to be more of along the lines of Contact, if anyone remembers that, with Jodie Foster and who else was in that? Matthew McConaughey? Or I can't remember.
Yeah, McConaughey.
It's been a while.
Yeah,
it's been a while.
But
Ooh.
This definitely looked like this was going to be within that vein. It wasn't something that was going to be an action-packed sci-fi alien movie like Independence Day. So it's been a while since we've had one that's kind of more thought-provoking and a little bit more with a slow burn. So I was really looking forward to this. And Arrival, it stars Jeremy Renner and Amy Adams and Forest Whitaker, and directed by Denis Villeneuve. And I still don't know if I'm saying that right, but we'll go with
Denis Villeneuve or Villeneuve.
Yeah.
I don't know how to pronounce last name either.
Yeah, it's tough until you hear someone else actually say it properly. So,
but he's the guy that directed Sicario, right?
Yeah, and I think Prisoners, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
but I'm gonna say Denis Villeneuve, because it just seems like it sounds good that way. And he was born in Canada, so maybe it's Villeneuve. I don't know. But anyway, the basic premise is that one random day, these 12 ships just show up in different parts of the world, and no one knows what to do. So across the planet, all these different countries are trying to communicate with these alien ships. And in the United States, Forest Whitaker is in the military, and he brings Amy Adams' character, who is a linguist, into this alien ship in terms of trying to communicate with these aliens, to see what they want, to see what their purpose is, and just to basically get the basics out of the way. And that's sort of the gist of the point of the story. And I really, 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 really enjoyed the movie a lot because it was exactly what I was hoping for. It was something that I felt like we hadn't had in a while, as I mentioned before, that it's more like a thought-provoking movie where you're not just going to be satisfied with blasts of X-rays and bullets and people fighting these aliens across the entirety of the movie. It's nothing like that. So if you do go into it, know that it's not that type of movie. But for me, I really felt as though the performances across the board were really good. And the idea of them trying to figure out a language in order to be able to communicate with these aliens, I found really fascinating, because this isn't the typical thing where there's some sort of basis of where one of the alien, I guess, species understands humans in a way that they can communicate, or you just know exactly what they want because they're coming and destroying things. So this one was like, how do you bridge that gap between what they know and what we know, and being able to get to a place where we both understand each other? And the process of going through that, I just found really fascinating, and how they get to that point. And so I thought, like, the visual design of the ship and the ideas and concepts that they were using in terms of how they would be able to board their ship, and just the way the aliens would move around, and the look of the aliens, everything about it, I really liked because it was different, not the typical alien type movie. So I completely really fell in love with the movie, and I don't know, I really enjoyed it. So I would suggest seeing it if anyone's interested in that kind of alien movie.
Sweet. Michelle, you saw it. What'd you think?
Yeah, I mean, like Bobby said, I was anticipating this one based on the trailer that we saw a while ago. And I didn't go in with this movie with any kind of expectations, really. I was just going to go and enjoy it and see what it was all about. And I found myself, as the movie progresses, slowly blown away by it. Like every revelation that came around the corner. Honestly, it's cheesy, but this movie like moved me. Like by the end of it, I was like, wow, this movie is spectacular. Like I love this movie more than I probably should be so excited, but I'm really, really, really happy with this film. Yeah, I strongly encourage people to see this film. Visually, it's quite stunning and beautiful in its simplicity of absolutely every shot. And yet every shot in that simplicity is layered into a depth level that just goes beyond a visual aspect that I could have thought of. And it harkens back to a lot of old school sci-fi. I mean, it's very, in a way, there's shots that you could tell were inspired by 2001 and by Aliens. And like, there's classic kind of throwbacks and at the same time all new things, and then just the sound and the editing of the sound and the things they came up with and the making of it, and then the music and just all of it just layered upon layered upon layer just adds to the film itself. And it was beautiful in so many ways. And then the story itself, it unfolds in a way that's completely not traditional to the way people are used to having a story told to them. And there's a loveliness that comes with it, because as the story continues to move along, you realize the folds of the story are multidimensional, and it's so much more, I guess, complex than a regular movie or story would ever kind of be in certain ways. But yeah, no, there's a spectacularness to it. And Amy Adams was great. God, that woman, she kills me. She's so good at what she does, and I love watching her on film. And I feel like, again, like seeing her on film, there's just such a loveliness to her and a grace with every character she takes on screen. And she doesn't fail in this one either. I'm blown away by this film, and I loved it. I really did. I cannot sing the praises more than I think I have. But yeah, I'm very happy with this one.
Cool. Jascha, that leaves you.
Wow. How do I follow that? Well, I understand where you guys are coming from, and it's no wonder as to why Rotten Tomatoes has it still rated so absolutely high, uncharacteristically so for Rotten Tomatoes. It was very, very pretty. I don't think that I enjoyed it quite nearly as much as you guys. But now that I'm listening to you and thinking about it and thinking about the aspect of the film, I can kind of see, yeah, actually, you know what? I think I did really enjoy the movie, maybe that much, that good. I did find it a little slow in some parts. I thought there was something really interesting about her and her character, knowing what to do or knowing what her life was going to be like. I don't want to get too into spoilers, actually, so I should probably retract that statement. But it was really, I loved the message of the film. Let's say that. I really, really enjoyed the message of the film, where it's basically the unification of the planet as a whole. And I really enjoyed that part. And the acting was phenomenal. I guess I kept expecting something more, maybe something aggressive, and that's probably my conditioning for watching movies with aliens in them. You kind of always have the underlying mining thought process of like, okay, something's going to happen now, or somebody's going to be aggressive now. And I never really felt like we got that, which is actually kind of good because it did condition me for a different side, a different type of movie, and really enjoy it. And I really did enjoy it. Like on a scale of 1 to 10, I'd probably say it was definitely a 7 for me, maybe an 8. I don't, like I said again, I don't think that I enjoyed it quite nearly as much as you guys did, but I did enjoy it, and I did enjoy the message that the movie advertises. So it was good. Definitely worth watching.
Yeah,
Definitely worth watching.
I feel like I can safely say this is going to be in my top 10 this year for sure.
If it weren't in your top 10 based on your review, then you watched a lot of really amazing films. I would have been shocked if the way you just talked, if it didn't make the 10.
I'm like almost passionate about this film. Like for me, it was moving. Like it was not a movie about an alien invasion. It's a movie about humanity. And
I agree 100% with that. And it's important. I want to mention too, like I enjoyed the movies that this gentleman has done before, Denis Villeneuve, or whatever.
Let's keep playing this game.
We're so sorry.
Yeah.
We're so sorry. We're butchering your name.
But I really enjoyed Prisoners. I thoroughly enjoyed Sicario. Like, I don't think that movie got enough praise and enough attention. I'm excited because, looking at his IMDb profile, he's directing Blade Runner 2049, so I can't wait to see what he does with that. I dig the guy's work. Like, he's pretty phenomenal. So it's like there's some other stuff that he's done that I haven't gotten a chance to see. Well, actually, there's a lot of it, but recent stuff like Enemy, I remember watching an advertisement for that and never getting a chance to watch it. So I'm a huge fan of this guy's work. I think he's very talented. So maybe that's why I liked it so much, because the directing and like you said, Michelle, the entering of the spacecraft and how they communicated and everything like that. I thought it was all very beautiful. Like, it was really all succinct with, moving the story along, and how I think we really would probably address an alien invasion at first, just kind of like trying to talk, everybody talking to each other. And then one thing happens and we all pull out very, very aggressively. So, but you're right. It's not a movie about an alien invasion. It's about a movie about humanity.
Yeah.
I will say, side note, from what I understand reading and not actually listening to a pronunciation, it should be, I believe, Villeneuve.
Villeneuve.
Okay.
Parlez-vous français?
So that's what we're looking at.
Oui.
So, Jascha, you also saw another movie, Almost Christmas. I'm sure one of your top 10 contenders. I'm joking.
I would hope so. Damn it, David. Like,
I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying, even if it were good, this is not the kind of movie I would expect to be in your top 10. That's all I'm saying. God.
No, it's definitely not in my top 10. But then again, neither is probably. I mean, the year's not over yet, so it's like maybe it will be, but neither is Arrival. But Almost Christmas, directed by David E. Talbert, starring Kimberly Elise, Danny Glover, Omar Epps, Monique, Romany Malcoy, Nicole Ari Parker, J.B. Smoove, Jesse T. Usher, John Michael Higgins, Gabriel Union. I mean, just a who's who of kind of celebrities when it comes to Black actors and actresses.
Yeah.
There is no shortage on talent for this movie. That being said, it was entertaining. It had its moments where it was very laughable. It was a very sweet message film about family and pulling together. I almost want to say it was like Soul Food 2 without being Soul Food 2. I mean, it's kind of that kind of a feel-good type of movie at times. I enjoyed it. I did laugh at certain parts. Is it something that you should run out and go watch? No. Is it a little predictable at some points? Yes. Were the jokes a little campy and a little predictable? Sure, but they were still funny. You still laughed. You still found time to oh, that's funny type of thing. But yeah, it was a fun movie. I would, I could probably sit through it again, maybe not in the theater, but it was still a very fun movie, and I enjoyed it. It was cute. It was a very good feel good movie.
That's cool.
Yeah, very easy to watch, I guess you could say. Like those movies, they're just super easy to watch. You're just like, oh yeah, this is cute. Type of thing.
Sometimes you need those in your life. You just need, like, it's almost like a hall pass. You're like, I just need something where I can just sit back and enjoy a story and just not really think very deeply into it. Visually, aesthetically, storyline wise, you just go and you're like, I'm just going to relax for the next hour and a half to 2 hours. Like, I just need to be entertained. Like, I don't need to be like overwhelmed of entertainment. Just keep me happy. That's cool.
And that's really what this was. It was just a fun, silly movie. JB Smoove played pretty much JB Smoove that he does in every other character and movie he's ever in.
Right.
Like, I mean, the guy's got to be one of the luckiest guys in Hollywood that just continues to get roles for the same character in every single movie. Like, every single movie, everything he does, he's a black sidekick that talks the way that he does and acts the way that he does.
Right.
I mean, and you still find it funny, and you still find it laughing. The kids for this movie were actually really, really good. They surprisingly so. Some of them have some really good convincing talent, and if they stay true to form and stay on the righteous path, I guess they could probably grow up to be really talented actors and actresses. So, but it was a fun movie. I enjoyed it. It was definitely worth my $6 because I got a couple of laughs from it. I enjoyed it.
Sweet.
I gotta say, so waiting for the film and watching the trailers come up, I've seen most of the trailers. I mean, I would say there was maybe like 6 trailers, and I've seen 5 of them, before the film starts. And Collateral Beauty comes on again, and I gotta say, every time I see this trailer, the more and more I want to see this film. Like,
I can't wait.
Oh my God. And it's like, I know I'm just going to be like, it's going to move me and make me sad, make me happy. And I'm going to get emotional. And like, it's like, I'm sure it's like uber predictable. And the same time I'm watching, I'm like, God, I want this film. I cannot wait till Christmas. Like, I've got to see this Will Smith film. Like, it has to happen. Like, it looks better. It looks better and better every single time I see the trailer. It's killing me.
I am right there with you because I cannot wait for that movie to come out. Like, I'm really looking forward to that, and I hope that it does. I hope it's as good as it looks.
Yeah, no, I agree.
That was the one that I think I was the only one that was like ho hum on it, right? If I remember right.
I think so.
Yeah, I think I was.
I think it's just because it looks extremely predictable, and it's the feel good movie at the end of the year. I mean,
it looks like it's trying too hard. And
it might be. And but I'm a sucker for it. I'm totally suckered into it. And
right.
I'm all in.
I'm all in for this. I really am.
And that was the one too, I think, where I the trailer's really good.
Yeah.
But it was just one of those, it was just all because of the music for me. Like,
yeah.
You could have thrown some of the piece of music in there and be like, oh wow, this movie looks okay, whatever. Lifetime Movie Network kind of.
Right. Well, and I think I like the concept, that there is a beauty to life outside of the damages that happen. Like this overall collateral like I get that message, and I think that's, I don't know. I think it's a really cool concept.
Cool.
I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, I'm sorry. I know it's really random, but I was just like, oh my God, like I'm seeing the movie theater, that trailer came out, and I was like, God damn, I can't wait for this movie.
Yeah, I had intended to see a couple movies this weekend. Unfortunately, the Arrival plans fell through, so I only saw Doctor Strange again.
Really?
Second viewing of Doctor Strange?
My wife hadn't seen it, and we had already made plans to see that together. So yeah, we went and saw that in IMAX again.
Yeah, the wife dragged you to it. I'm sure,
she totally dragged me.
You saw it in like IMAX this time though, right?
Yeah, but honestly, it was a worse experience.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just, I'm not going to call out the movie theater I went to, but I went to a real IMAX theater. And I don't know, it was just a bad projection day or what, but the 3D was just like, seemed like a tinge blurry and was not as good of an experience as I had at a IMAX theater a week before. And it was funny too, seeing, of course it's fun. I enjoy going to see movies like that opening weekend with a full theater of people that are passionate about it. I think it's enjoyable. And it was such a different experience seeing it this next weekend. I mean, it's only been a week. And right. I mean, it's a Marvel movie. It's a big movie. It did well in its second weekend, and we'll talk about that in a second.
Yeah.
But the experience from that first weekend and this audience I happened to see it with, I don't know if it was just this particular audience or what, it was night and day. Like when I saw it with you, Michelle, you know, the Friday night it came out.
Yeah.
You know, everyone's reacting to everything, enjoying it. This time it was like a ghost town, like in terms of the like no one was reacting to anything. Like
Really?
I shouldn't say that. Of course, there were, you know, some of the humor. It was getting some chuckles. But for the most part, things were happening. And it was just like, is anybody watching? Because everybody's sleeping here. Like, is anybody enjoying this film at all? And,
It's like, that was funny, damn it. You should be laughing.
like, come on. I know maybe there's a little too much humor in this. But come on, guys. That was funny. Like,
Or like, that was a pivotal plot twist. What the hell?
Yeah,
No,
like-
no audible gasps of,
not much.
Man.
It was. I wish I could have like held everyone there and asked everybody like, "Hey guys, I'm curious. Did everyone hate this as much as it seemed? Because it seemed like no one in here liked this movie." So yeah, that was funny. And again, it's only been a week. It's not like I saw it 2 months later, and you're mainly just getting people who are like, I don't know what else to see. I guess I'll see this. Like,
right. Well, and it's not like it had major content. I mean, Arrival was good, and I mean, you already heard my praises, and I'm sure it did well in the box office, but that was the only other major contender it was going up against this weekend.
Right.
Like, you would think, like, it would still be pretty packed. I mean, you know.
I mean, yeah, and I saw it. I mean, you know, for the IMAX theater I went to, and we're looking at like $20 a ticket.
Yeah, it's not cheap.
You know, so it definitely wasn't as packed as I was expecting, though it's a huge theater.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you stick that same audience in a smaller theater, it'll look a lot bigger. But anyway, yeah, I don't know. It was just night and day. The reactions from people, no one cared about anything like that was happening, it seemed. Except for the woman right next to me, not my wife, on the other side. That was just, she was crazy.
She was enthralled.
But,
oh, Benedict.
and I will say, I mean, my wife, real quick, she didn't really seem to care for it. She wasn't. I thought she was going to enjoy it, and she didn't really seem to like it. So I was kind of bummed.
Well, full disclosure, I saw it a second time this weekend too, David.
Oh, you did? Nice. I still liked it. I felt the same way about it as I did the first time I saw it. Though it is funny, leading up to it, you know, I've mentioned how we've been watching Marvel movies that she hasn't seen. And this week we watched Age of Ultron, we watched Ant-Man, and we watched Civil War. And you know how last weekend when we were reviewing this, I kind of quickly put together like a MCU top list.
Yeah, we all kind of did.
I haven't looked back at it since, but I'd probably have to fuck around with it now. Like, you know, I hadn't seen Age of Ultron since I saw it in the theater, and same with Civil War. That's only the second time I've seen that.
Right.
And I'm almost don't want to say it. I actually enjoyed Age of Ultron more the second time around.
Really?
Yeah. And
What do you mean you don't want to say it?
I don't know why. Just because I was so irritated by that movie when I saw
was
it in the
a
theater.
Oh, okay.
And
I forgot that.
I'm almost
I liked it. So
yeah. And I remember when we reviewed it, I didn't hate on it, but my expectations being what they were, I definitely was disappointed. And the second time around, I definitely enjoyed it more. And Civil War, though, and now that's a movie that I also did not like gush over. I liked it, but I definitely was like, you know, it could have been better. And I think I've enjoyed it less now seeing it a second time.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
that's interesting.
I still enjoy Spider-Man. Spider-Man's great in it. And it's definitely, you know, pretty much that whole scene at the airport, you know, enjoyable to watch. But
What parts bring you down to liking it less than you did before, though?
I think it's
Like,
still the
what about
same
it as a
things,
whole?
just they're continuing to drag me down, which is like a lot of the character motivation in it. I still question and don't really buy into, you know, and it feels a little forced, this conflict, you know, of the whole, the sides. And I don't know. I think it's the same complaints I had the first time I saw it. It's just, I still agree, and they're bothering me even more on a second viewing.
Ant-Man still holds up.
Ant-Man's about the same. Ant-Man's
cool.
still good. I still enjoyed Ant-Man.
Still enjoyable.
Michael Pena, that's his name, right?
What'd your wife
He's
think?
still,
It's hilarious.
he's God, he's so good in that movie.
He's so good at that movie.
Yeah, but
Yeah, what'd you think?
she enjoyed Age of Ultron quite a bit, and it's funny because before we watched it, I told her my opinion. I was like, "Look, just a heads up, I didn't really care for this movie." And after it was over, she was like, "Really?" Because I kind of really liked it. I'm like, "That's cool." And I told her, I'm like, "Actually, the second time around, I kind of liked it a little more than I did the first time." You know, I don't know that I ever asked really her opinion on Civil War. I don't know what she thought of that. But
just call out to her real quick, like, "Hey, honey, what you think of
open the
Civil
door. Hey,
War?
get in here."
Get on the mic.
But yeah, I don't know. It was interesting watching those the second time around, and yeah, going back to that list too. I know the one movie in particular I would have a hard time throwing in is The Incredible Hulk, because I've only ever seen it once. I kind of don't even still remember how I feel about that movie. It's been a while, and I don't know where I'd put that movie.
You know, it's funny. I remember the first time I saw it, not really feeling strongly in any direction about that film. I was kind of like, huh, so that happened. Like, it was just
Hulk?
very like, yeah.
Okay.
And I remember just kind of being like, huh. And I had to watch it a second time, and I didn't see it in theaters. I saw it at home. So I remember watching it like a month, 6 weeks later again, because I was like, okay, I need to formulate an opinion on this. And I watched it a second time, and I remember going, you know, I actually kind of liked it. Like, there's definitely aspects of it I did not enjoy whatsoever and are just weak. But there's other times I was like, it's actually not as bad as I think I thought it was going to be. And like, overall, I did enjoy it. And I remember being surprised, because that first time I watched it, I was like, I don't have any, like, I was like, I don't know if I hated this or liked it or what. Like, I was so mixed the first time watching it.
Right.
And yeah, I remember the second time just gonna be like, actually, that was solid. I was surprised by it. But still, at the same time, I don't know where I would even rank it on this list. It's still a very bizarre film as far as the whole MCU goes. I think it's almost like it doesn't fit in the puzzle piece in a weird way.
Well, especially with the different casting and
Right, exactly.
You know,
it's weird.
it's the most forgettable. No one really talks about it.
Oh yeah, totally.
I think if you ask most
Which is a
people,
shame to me.
most people who like kind of even know what the MCU is, the kind of, at least if you were to ask someone that at least they know that 20th Century Fox has different rights and that kind of thing, there'd still be a lot of them that'd be like, "Oh, that's in the MCU. I didn't know that." Like, I would think you'd find probably more than that than you did expect.
Which is crazy to me,
Yeah.
because I mean, I love that movie.
Incredible Hulk?
Unabashedly. Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
really?
obviously, well, for one, Hulk's one of my favorite Marvel characters.
Right.
But beyond just that, the ways that it was layered into the aspects of what would be eventually the MCU was pretty great, because a lot of people don't remember that the what was it? What's his name?
Ed
I
Norton?
only know his character name in the comics, Emil Blonsky, but I can't think of the actor that played him or
Tim Roth?
Yeah, Tim Roth. That character. I mean, they had to name check Super Soldier Serum before there was even a Captain America, and he had parts of it, but not the full thing, which is why he ended up turning into the Abomination.
Right.
So there's that part of it, and just seeing the aspects in my head as I'm watching him fight against the Hulk. I'm sitting there picturing these are like Captain America type moves he's busting out, even before the movie. You know, this is only the second movie, so there was no Captain America movie yet. So it was just like all these different hints that we get now in movies that we kind of take for granted. This was the start of them, because it was layering this
Right.
stuff in. And then you also had at the end when General Ross meets up with Tony Stark, and he hears he has a Hulk problem. He's like, "I got something for you." And it's just like, I mean, it tied into the first movie of the Iron Man, and then it also helped layer to bring the rest of it, connecting it in. And just the fight with the Abomination in the streets was great. And even when he was fighting him, like before that, and he hit Tim Roth and he knocked him into a tree, like, 50, 60 feet away. And it was just like, I don't know. I really do love
The
that
Easter eggs were very, very strong back then, and people, like Bobby says, I think they really forget about that. They really forget that this movie did play a huge part in that, because there were a ton of little nuances that they just kind of offered out throughout the movie as to Bruce Banner's character and what he was really all about, and what his inner struggle. And then, I mean, I'm a Hulk fan too, so I can kind of side with this with Bobby. But they definitely did have a ton of Easter eggs, that a lot of people, I think, forget, because there's so many movies nowadays, so many of the
Right.
movies now that they just kind of like, oh yeah, well, that started with this. I was like, well, no, it actually started back when, this, and this. And they're like, oh, okay.
I feel like I need to revisit that film because I mean, I watched it years ago. At this point, literally, it's been years ago since I've watched it, and I really should go revisit it.
Maybe, yeah. I think that'd be a good idea because as I even think about it in my head, and I'm sitting there kind of going over it from the beginning to the end, and the way they introduced the Hulk, and they didn't go and say, "Oh, let's do another origin story. Let's just show his quick origin within the confines of the opening credits, just in a montage, because people know who he is and they know what he's about. So let's just do that." And the way that they had the Edward Norton character, kind of like the old TV series where he was kind of on the run and he wasn't staying in one place for too long, and it just had that sort of feel to it. And I'm going through the movie and I'm like, from beginning to end, I really don't know what I would have changed or done differently in the movie. Everything to me really worked well. So I don't know. It's just one of those things. Like, I guess because so much time has passed and they've never done a proper sequel to it, people tend to forget it.
And I'll be clear too. I want to be clear that even though I'm saying I think a lot of people find it forgettable, I'm not trying to shit on it on purpose. Like, I need to see it again. Yeah. I'm fully admitting that.
Yeah, I agree with you, Bobby. I mean, I'm right there with you. I don't think that there's much that they could really change on that movie to make it better because it was really good, which is a shame that they didn't decide to kind of carry that storyline along.
Right.
Yeah.
I had a quick question since I just saw Civil War again, and I feel like this has probably come up and maybe I missed it. But since this is all supposed to be one big happy MCU family and everything connects, right?
Kinda.
Netflix as well, right? That's the theory?
Well, yes, the theory is they do, yeah.
So what's the deal then with Alfre Woodard, since she appears in both movies?
Well, I think I mentioned that way back when it happened, but it's just...
yeah.
There's no explanation for it. It's just they messed up. Someone didn't do their due diligence and say, "Hey, Alfred,
we can't use her in Luke Cage."
I was surprised when they announced her for Luke Cage. I was like, "Wait a second, wasn't she?"
Well, actually, from what I understand, her part came second in the movie than it did for her being announced within the Luke Cage.
Gotcha.
It was like kind of weird that they, So, and it's actually kind of I don't know. I think it's probably part of a larger problem because I think I saw a Kevin Feige quote where he mentioned about the Inhumans movie still being on, coming out in maybe the fourth phase, and he was saying he thinks that they're doing something like that on TV right now, but he's not sure. I'm like,
what?
What do you mean? And I didn't.
I mean, he had to have said that in a like kind of joking way, right? I mean, he knows.
No. I mean, he knows, but I think it's also because, again, I've mentioned it multiple times on the show, so I won't really go into it, but it's because of his feud with the Ike Perlmutter guy, and he runs the TV stuff, and they just don't get along. And so I think a lot of that tends to be that. And so I could totally see a situation to where they weren't paying attention to what Netflix was doing in terms of their casting and just said, hey, Alfre Woodard, she wants to do it. So we need this part in here to kind of give this other scene that comes later a little bit more weight and explanation. And so, they just did it and they didn't even think or even care to look what the TV side had done and if she was important on that side at all. So it's just a mistake. That
epic fail.
You can't really do anything about it.
Yeah, because if it's the other way around, like you're saying, then it's totally unnecessary. I mean, I would get it if she'd already been in Civil War, and you're like, but she's so great, we want to put her in Luke Cage. I mean, it's such a small part in Civil War. Okay, whatever. But then to cast her in Civil War second, like, I mean, she's good in that little role, but it's a little role. You could have put
anybody in
that. Fine.
Yeah, I almost feel like that was like a slight at the TV side for purposeful reasons, but I'm just speculating. I mean, at the very least, I guess if they ever wanted to get around it, they could say she's some sort of distant cousin, like, Patty Duke show. And they just walk alike and talk alike. Sometimes
oh God, I never in a million years would have put Marvel and Patty Duke show in the same conversation. I would have never. Wow.
I'm just saying,
Good
if
job,
they want to try and
Optimus.
beat themselves out of that corner, which I doubt that they care, because
I
like you said,
know,
it was
no,
just
No, they're not
it's
gonna
such a
paint
small
themselves.
little thing.
It's
no
over.
one ever really even brings it up. So I
Right.
don't even know how many people really noticed it, because it's dependent upon the millions of people who watch the movies actually watching Luke Cage. So
Right.
it's probably just going to be one of those things that people who know, and whoever doesn't, it doesn't make any difference.
The only other thing that's kind of caught my attention when watching, I think it was Luke Cage. And this is also just a stupid minor thing, is that in the films we haven't, the presidents of the United States have been fictional presidents,
Right.
but in Luke Cage, Barack
Yeah.
Obama specifically mentioned, like, they seem to be playing like, hey, we're going with reality. I'm like, that's an
they're
interesting.
messing up.
Yeah.
No, they're messing up, because it's not only was Barack a president in Luke Cage, but within Agents of Shield, we still have the president that was being the president during Iron Man 2 when you first see him. So it's all
Guess it
kind of
could be,
wonky.
you know,
It's getting a little
8 solid years, I guess. Slow
Yeah.
8 years.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's what's going on with that stuff. But
Interesting.
Because that caught my
It is
attention when I
really-
was watching Luke Cage and that was mentioned, and I thought for a second, I'm like, wait a second, she just said Barack. I'm like, that's interesting. All right, whatever. Yeah.
oh, before we get out of that,
Yeah.
well, this isn't kind of related, but it was a little related to what you were talking about earlier as far as your movie going experience. I got a pleasant surprise today, because I was literally just talking to a friend of mine last week about how upset I was still at the fact that not enough theaters have the nice seating and all that, and the reserved seating in any of the newer or older theaters that I usually go to. And so I had to kind of go and skirt around that by going to other theaters that do. And I went to a theater I go to out here in Ontario sometimes, and lo and behold, they did exactly what I was just saying last week to one of my friends. I was saying, I don't know why they don't just close one side of the two main theaters and start construction on that side, and you can still have everything else open and be able to still convert to, and then have people come to the other ones in the smaller theaters, and then convert the other two, and however many else they decide to do. And that was exactly what the one at the Ontario Mills is doing. Is there are two big theaters when you first come in that are on the left-hand side being converted for not only the reserved seating, but the what is that format? Dolby Atmos, I think, and some of the other extra perks that some of the newer AMC theaters are having. So I was like, yes, finally, at a theater I actually go to a decent amount, and now I won't have to worry about trying to go to smaller theaters that don't have the good times that I like to go see movies. So I'm excited. Finally, more people are starting to move into that way of life, because I think one of the other theaters that I think it was one of the other chains of the theaters that had built a new theater. It was like maybe a 20-plex or something like that, and it was built from the ground up. So of course it has the reserved seating and the nice seats and all that stuff. And I'm curious if maybe that started dipping into their business, because it's about, I'd say, 15 miles from that theater. So it's like maybe they felt like, oh, you know what? Maybe we need to make sure that we're having people come back to here as opposed to starting to leave here and go somewhere else. So whatever, let the fire underneath them. I'm all grateful for it, because it's about time. And I think more theaters need to start doing it in some way or form or fashion.
Well, I know more and more theaters around here, they're not so much like converting to like recliners. I mean, some are, but in general, most theaters around here now are just adopting reserved seats with their existing setups, like pretty quickly.
Yeah. I mean, within the last like 3 months, I feel like everybody's really going to this reserved seating. Like I feel like,
which is great for me.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I just now I'm like, I got to keep that in mind, where I'm like, I need to really make sure I buy tickets way ahead of time now, because I'm too anal if I.
Yeah.
I ran into that with Doctor Strange, where I was like, oh, I waited till the last second to buy tickets, and I'm like, oh fuck, man. That's all, everything's reserved. I mean, it's great, except when you're waiting till day of to buy your tickets, and then you're like, man, I guess I'm sitting in the back row. Okay. But yeah, like Fantastic Beasts, I haven't bought tickets for that yet. I need to do that. And then, are Star Wars tickets already on sale?
No, I think they said that they go on sale the Monday after Thanksgiving. And this is all speculation, but that's
To
where
look it
the
up,
speculation is that it might come out that Monday after Thanksgiving.
Okay. Because I need to jump on that as soon as that happens, knowing this reserved seating thing is going on.
I was gonna say it's most of the theaters, especially if it's the main theater of that movie theater complex.
Right.
If it's the main room, they're almost all totally.
Yeah.
I almost can't name a theater now in town that doesn't have the reserved seating for their one or two major rooms.
Right. Well, we're moving on. Did everybody watch the Ghost in the Shell trailer?
Yep.
I did. Yeah.
Everybody, I can tell just by the way you guys are saying that you're just kind of like, yeah, I saw it. Whatever.
Ghost in the Shell. I mean, for me, like, I never, the anime, like, I didn't watch the anime. Like, I don't have any major feelings towards this movie in any direction.
Look at that.
It's a ScarJo movie. I can see it. It's cool.
She looks like she's walking around with no clothes on, basically.
She did.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm all in for that.
I don't think anybody's against that. So,
Yeah.
That's the funny thing about it. So I watched the trailer, and I mentioned before that with the anime, I've seen it. I don't really remember it much, but I remember when I saw it, I just thought it was okay. I didn't really get anything out of it that made me love it or become a fan of it in a way that it sort of has the cult following that it does. But when I saw the trailer, I can't connect everything from the trailer that I saw to the anime in terms of how much it matches up. I just remember thinking that it has a nice visual style to it and a look that will definitely bring people who want to see something sci-fi and have that kind of futuristic, really out there Japanese kind of look to it will show up for it. But I thought, like, with the whole ordeal of the whitewashing and with Scarlett Johansson being cast instead of an Asian actress, that might cause problems. And then you see her in that nude bodysuit, and I'm like, I think a lot of guys aren't going to care after seeing that.
No.
They're just going to show up just for that, and they're not going to care about the whitewashing part. They might complain about it later, but I think a lot of guys will show up for it just because.
I see this going like either honestly one of two ways. I don't see it being just a moderate hit. I see it either being a really big hit with all the fanboys and everybody supporting the anime and going to see it, and ScarJo in that skin tight nude, bodysuit. Or I don't know why, I just feel like this could be an epic bomb. Just like they're banking on this so much, and it's like I don't know how much it's cost to produce it or if they released any numbers for that yet, but I can see it just being like, huge, just letdown. And I hope that it's not, because I like Scarlett Johansson and I like to support her work, but that would suck for her, because that would essentially, it may or may not, but that could kill any ideas of moving forward with a Black Widow movie, and taking forward with that, just because it's Marvel fan base, they'll say, well, Ghost in the Shell had a huge fan base and look at what happened to them, type of thing. They don't want to waste the money on something like that, and that would be a huge letdown.
It's true. I can see what you're saying. I guess we'll find out after, March 31st is when that movie's coming out.
You didn't say how you felt about the
I was about
I
to
guess
say,
I
what
didn't.
about you, Bobby? David, sorry.
No, I have said before I like the anime, and I will say I didn't watch this and feel like some extra, like, oh my god, this looks incredible. I think it does look really good. I think it just kind of looks how I expect. It's basically how I feel about it, and I'm looking forward to it. I think it could be a very good movie. But the trailer in and of itself didn't give me goosebumps or anything like that,
Okay.
But no, I'm still looking forward to the film. Rupert Sanders, the director, what's he done? Didn't he do Snow White, The Huntsman?
Oh God.
Josh just lost all hope.
Actually,
not selling me on the idea of this movie.
It just died.
Actually looking at his resume, that's really all he's done in terms of a full-length feature.
Oh wow.
He's done a couple shorts. He's attached to another movie, Juliet. But yeah. Say what you will about Snow White and the Huntsman, it definitely looked pretty. And that's going to be one key aspect of this is the visuals. So I don't know. I'm definitely keeping an open mind, and I'm looking forward to seeing it. But the trailer itself did not oh my god, I can't wait. It wasn't like the Rogue One trailer.
Right. Speaking of visuals, the other trailer that dropped this week,
Valerian and the City of 1,000 Planets, the new Luc Besson film. It's director of The Fifth Element, of course.
Lucy, right?
Yeah, he did Lucy. I never saw Lucy. I just think of him as the director of The Fifth Element.
Right.
Because I think it's the only movie of his I've seen that I actually particularly enjoyed. Really, right? I mean, well, no,
he didn't do
Professional.
The Professional?
The Professional.
The
Yeah,
Professional.
Professional's
I
great.
was like, didn't he do
Professional's
The
great.
Professional?
No,
That was great.
that was great.
Yeah.
I forgot about that for a second. Everyone calm down.
We all
It's gonna be
jump on
okay.
David.
I know.
We all come to the
We're all
defense
ready
of
to
the
kill him.
professional. The professional.
But so yeah, this movie definitely. I don't know what to think of this. I mean, I love sci-fi. I've said it a million times on here, and this. But when I see this, I have a hard time not watching this and thinking like the recent Wachowski film. What am I thinking of?
The with Tatum.
The
that was
Jupiter Ascending.
Jupiter Ascending.
You know, it just has that. I mean, because it's got this space opera kind of look to it, and I mean, and that doesn't mean that this is going to be bad, but of course, because that's so recent, I see this and I'm like, I don't know. I feel like it could just be too much, and just kind of a mess, and it's trying too hard at visuals, and there's no substance. So I don't know. I don't know what I think of this, but I mean, I'll definitely go see it. But you know,
Can I ask a stupid question? I mean, I hope this isn't too bad a stupid question. Is this a musical?
not that I know of.
Yeah. Not that I'm aware of. No.
No, for whatever reason, I thought I heard something like the musical or whatever, something, Valerian.
I think it's getting referred to as operatic because of the way the story unfolds, and apparently is kind of an homage to a genre and to space, and it's supposed to be kind of this like love letter to that, I think is what it's getting referred to as. Or am I crazy?
Okay. Maybe that's where I picked
Right.
it up from, because I was like, this is a musical? Like, I was watching it, I'm
Yeah.
like, all right, I guess.
No, I don't.
It looks interesting.
It looks interesting for sure.
I
but-
mean, the visuals are, you're watching it, and it's funny because I think Jascha kind of said it. It kind of seems to go in between, like, film, and then the CG gets to a point. It's almost like a video game kind of feel to it. Like, it points, like it looks very like you're almost immersed into a multiplayer game in a weird way. And I don't know. It's, yeah, as far as story goes, who the hell knows if there's a story in this? Not from the trailer, I couldn't tell you, but really, there's two main characters, a boy and a girl, and they're fighting people. That's what's happening. But yeah, visually it looks pretty interesting. I couldn't say if I like it, but it looks interesting. It's intriguing. It's caught my attention. I will say that much.
Well, I like the director.
I love the director.
I did not like Lucy though. Like, and that was the last movie I think that he did, and I've seen anyways. And I watched it, and he did The Family, and I kind of enjoyed that. That was humorous, but he did Lucy, and I really didn't like Lucy. Like, I wrote a review for the site that I pretty much destroyed Lucy because I thought it was bullshit.
Bobby, any thoughts on this one?
Not much more than what you guys have already covered. I think it's probably the prettiest looking movie I've seen since maybe Avatar, I guess. So it has that going for it, and it'll be something really good to take in at a movie going experience. It just seems like it's made for that. So from anything else, I really can't tell. I can't really tell what the scope of this story is supposed to be, why they're doing what they're doing. Even if they explained it in the trailer, I don't know if I really picked up on it. I just was captured by the visuals of it. And I'd go see a movie just on visuals alone if the storyline is kind of thin and I'm not expecting some sort of grand through line of a story that'll carry me through and make me satisfied on both ends. I would be willing to go see it just for the visuals and see what kind of crazy sci-fi Luc Besson has cooked up in terms of this story. I mean, it's based off books, right?
graphic novel.
Graphic novel, I don't know.
I mean, I'm only aware of that from the trailer where it says that, so I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. So
I mean, I'll say I agree with you, Bobby, but that's why I saw Jupiter Ascending, and we all know what a
that just didn't look right, even from what I could tell of the story. None of the elements seemed to make it look like it was worth seeing the visuals to be able to kind of quote unquote put up with the story. So I just
or lack thereof
kind of checked out. Yeah, I just was checked out from the beginning on that one. This one at least hasn't done anything to sway me away based on what I see of the story. It just isn't really there enough for me to flesh it out to know what we're getting there.
Right. Moving on, we're going to actually try a new segment this week. One cool thing, we're going to call it. We're going to go around, each kind of mention one cool thing we may be seen in the news or something we learned this week. And Michelle, I'm going to start with you.
Oh, jeez.
What's your one cool thing for the week?
My one cool thing is actually it kind of goes with what's happening really soon in a few days. It's about Fantastic Beasts in Harry Potter world. We're finding out that, we know there's going to be 5 films, and we're learning that it's going to take place over 19 years. Now, whether or not it's going to be in order of 19 years or it's going to be kind of like back and forth between time lapses and memories and whatnot. But we've just found out that Mr. David Yates will be directing all 5 films for Fantastic Beasts. It's like, I don't know.
I hear you geeking out over here, Michelle. I can hear you geeking out over here.
I was super excited when I first saw this. I was like, really? David's doing all of them? Awesome. It's like, I don't know. It's keeping the Harry Potter. Because I feel like, as far as the Harry Potter movies go, and I enjoyed all of them, his were definitely my favorites. And so to continue that through the Fantastic Beasts format and storyline, I think is spectacular. And I think it's good news, and I think everybody should rejoice and be happy.
Yeah, I'm kind of torn on that, honestly, the David Yates thing. Because I agree with you, when it comes to the original Harry Potter movies, his are my favorite. But I don't know. I feel like history has shown us that when a director just kind of swims in that same pool for long enough, eventually it gets to a point where he loses his way.
Right.
And that's my fear. Now, hopefully, so far he hasn't done that in the 4 movies he directed for the original films. So hopefully he keeps going. I mean, the buzz around Fantastic Beasts is that it sounds like it's pretty good. So hopefully he did well there, and then he keeps going. But I'm nervous about that whole idea, And
I see your point, and I agree to it. I'm trying to be optimistic that he's going to overcome that obstacle that definitely happens.
Right.
I agree with you. I'm trying to just be optimistic. About
but I mean, I'm there with you at the same time where, hey, I like David Yates, and I even like Tarzan. I know you didn't really care for it, but,
Right, yeah,
so I'm a fan for sure. So, I mean, it's hard not to be happy, but it makes me a little nervous about you're already locking him down for all these films. And
it's interesting because, I mean, I think it wasn't news this week, but it was for a while that Johnny Depp is now going to be in it as cast. And it's basically locking him into the movies too.
Right.
And I'll be honest, as much as I have enjoyed Johnny Depp, I feel like the last few films I've seen him in, I've felt very lackluster in. And so I am mixed on the Johnny Depp news being added to this series, I will say.
Gotcha.
Which is interesting. But that's my one cool thing.
Nice.
David Yates.
Woot. Directing Harry Potter forever.
Yeah, it's still to me kind of weird that we're getting 5 of these. It's cool that there will be that consistency with David Yates. I do agree with that, and the fact that I assume that it means J.K. will be working really hand in hand with him in order to make sure that her vision gets portrayed in the way that she would like, and that it'll have that continuity running through, since they'll have that shorthand with each other after having worked with each other before and with these movies. But as Davis did say, there is that risk of the director kind of getting burnt out. And I don't know if it happened to the same degree that it possibly could happen, but with Francis Lawrence when he did the Hunger Games and he did the Catching Fire and the Mockingjay 1 and 2. You could definitely tell that there was a loss of something there that shouldn't have been really. If you, for all intents and purposes, like the books, it doesn't falter there per se, not in the same way that the movies did. So it just sort of, I don't know, kind of fizzled in a way. And I don't know that it's specifically Francis Lawrence's fault, but that's the only kind of portion you can point to when you see it sort of gradually step down a layer every time. So hopefully that doesn't happen with David Yates. And I think because of the relationship he has over there with Warner Brothers and with J.K. Rowling's, that it should be fine. But yeah, I would hope that he wouldn't take on something larger than what he thinks he can actually be able to do.
Right. Moving on to Jascha. What's your one cool thing this week?
Wow. Well, actually, I like the idea of what Michelle dropped in there too. That's a really cool thing. I was really torn with quite a few things that we talked about, and Bobby put us on, or we all put each other on. But the one thing that I thought was really kind of cool happened just last night, and I really dug it. I thought the return of Tribe Called Quest and return of Dave Chappelle to television, I thought that was really cool. His monologue, while it wasn't great, it was good, and some of it needed to be said. And I'm not going to get political, but I just felt that, he spoke very true to form in regards to his feelings and his beliefs. And he had moments when he was funny. I don't think he's as funny. His stand-up is nearly as funny as he used to be, which makes me sad because I used to be a really big fan. I've seen him live. Didn't really laugh at the time when I did see him live. I was really disappointed. But seeing him revisit some of the old characters that he made very, very famous was a lot of fun. His little mock show, of The Walking Dead and him portraying Negan was great. Watching A Tribe Called Quest was also a lot of fun for me. I thought that was really cool. Hearing some of their new music and where they're kind of trying to go. I haven't gotten a chance to listen to their entire album, but I'm a huge Tribe Called Quest fan, and they were good, but I really think that something was missing, and it's Fife, because they lost a member this past year, and he passed away. And his lyrics were still there, very formidable, and a lot of fun to listen to. But it was fun to see them perform again as well, and I thought that was all very, very cool. I really dug what they did on SNL this past week. And I think it's important to say too, also, not to just keep going, but I'm not a huge SNL fan. I don't watch from week to week either. But I wanted to see Dave Chappelle, and I definitely wanted to see Tribe Called Quest, and they didn't disappoint.
Yeah, I'm the same way with SNL. Like, it's basically, hey, if I hear buzz about it, then I'll go check out either particular clips or maybe watch the whole thing. If it's like, man, that whole episode was good, which rarely happens anymore. But yeah, this one in particular is everyone's talking about. Like, and I've seen most of it. I watched through Weekend Update at this point, and it's great. Dave Chappelle's great, and yeah, I'm also a huge Tribe fan. And I mean, I guess what they do 2 performances. I assume I only saw the one, and I mean, yeah, it's good, but at the same time, it's like it's not going to be the same. It's not going to be. It's never going to be the same Tribe. But I haven't listened to the new album either. I'm curious to check it out.
New album dropped this week too, though, right?
Yeah, it's out now.
Yeah, Friday. Like, I've already downloaded it on Spotify, and I'm really interested to listening to it. I'll probably listen to a great portion of it tomorrow when I'm at the gym. But yeah, David, you said it best. It's like, if it's on a week-to-week basis, if you hear about, Shaquille O'Neal is going to be on, SNL this week, you're like, oh, well, that sounds like they could do some funny stuff there. Or, Funny Man, Chris Rock, and, like, they have, like, I mean, it's purely on a week-to-week basis for me, and it sounds like for you too, as to what you're going to do when you're going to invest in watching Saturday Night Live, because it's lost something over the past years. It's not nearly as funny as it used to be, and I don't know what it is or what they've done to lose that audience, but they're still hanging in there and they're still going week to week. But I'm with you; it's like on a week-to-week basis is when I decide to tune in for SNL.
Right.
I got a chance to see it as well, and I can echo some of those thoughts that Jascha made, specifically about Tribe Called Quest. It was bittersweet seeing them on stage because there was not Fife there along with them, And I am a huge Fife fan. As when I would always listen to the Tribe Called Quest albums or CDs, whichever you want to call it, you can really date yourself when you whichever way you say that is how old people can tell you are. If you say album or CD, they kind of know how old you are. But when I used to listen, I would always be checking for Vice verse because I just always thought of him as being so creative and battle ready, like he was ready to take on MCs at any minute with his lyrics. Yeah, and so it's definitely sad to see that he's not there, but it's great to know that he was able to record this full album before he passed away. And I did get a chance to listen to it on Friday, and I really like it a lot. So if you're a Tribe fan, I think you will enjoy it.
Sweet.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
All right, Bobby. Well, moving on to you. What's your one cool thing this week?
So my one cool thing may be cool, but I'm looking at it as cool for other reasons compared to maybe the way the news actually sounds. And the news that we kind of came across this week was that Fox is looking to retool their X-Men universe. And what it pretty much boils down to is the fact that, one, we have Hugh Jackman in his last performance as Wolverine, so they don't know where to go with that character in terms of, since Hugh Jackman has defined Wolverine in all the different performances and however many movies he's been in continuously, that it's a hard thing to try and figure out and go see where you want to go from there with that character. And then you add on top of that where the last X-Men Apocalypse movie didn't perform the way that Fox wanted it to. And not to mention that their three big stars, Fassbender, Jennifer Lawrence, and McAvoy, all need to be re-signed, and they're probably going to want big paychecks. They're just kind of like, well, what are we going to do here? Maybe we need to reboot things. But then they're doing sort of this weird kind of logic to where they're thinking of rebooting it, but like as a soft reboot, to where it would be those three people still signed, or maybe one or two of them, and then just new X-Men, and maybe doing a New Mutants instead of the X-Men, and still kind of having it within this universe, this world, but not specifically about the X-Men that we know. So that's one thought of it, or one thought process. But then there was also that came out of that, the Deadpool. They're already starting to think of a Deadpool 3 because obviously they know that that's definitely their moneymaker right now within the pantheon of X-Men type movies. So what they're thinking of doing there is, there was going to be a X-Force movie, and they're saying that what they will probably do, or maybe attempt to do, is retool the X-Force movie that they were going to have and make it as Deadpool 3, and thereby bringing the X-Force team into a Deadpool film in order to introduce those characters in a way that they could spring off and do their own spinoff after that being introduced, which is actually pretty smart. So it does work in that format to bring it into a Deadpool 3, because we would have already had hopefully two solid Deadpool stories, and then be able to build into a third one once you've had everyone introduced. So my sort of cool thing about the whole thing is that the possibility is still there that we may get one of two things. We might get something where we reboot everything and we start sort of fresh, and they can make it more like the comics and be about the mutants that were more persecuted, but yet still retain this level of humanity, especially within themselves, and were friends and would be able to, on the manner of the Xavier's school for gifted children or gifted youngsters, they would still be playing basketball or play a game of baseball, and you would retain that spirit of the comics where you see them in school learning and showing them how to deal with their powers. Maybe they can take the approach that Spider-Man is taking, and as opposed to trying to rush and get to these different big storylines and villains, and make it more of a thing where with Spider-Man, they've been saying that each year will represent a different year in high school. So it'd be a year-to-year thing. Maybe they can do that with the X-Men because they are at this school, and make it more like they're taking in place and they're learning as they go. And then they have maybe one or two central threats within that time frame, but really focus on the students and the kids, and maybe that would be a better way to go. Or the other thing is, if they are rebooting, excuse me, this would be the perfect time for them to sit down with Marvel and say, how about, is there a way we can fit them into the universe? And that would be, I mean, that's all you need, because I'm sure they'd probably bring the Fantastic Four along with them, and then that would pretty much, as far as I can tell, complete the package. The circle would be complete, because that's the only thing that's not part of the universe at this point is the X-Men. So, and the Fantastic Four. So if that happens, that would be awesome. And I know that they would figure out a way to make it all work and be logical. And it would be great because they would still get to retain those characters, and we would still not have to worry about Marvel only being able to produce so many movies themselves a year. And if you have another studio doing it, you can still make these movies in tandem and then be able to release them within your schedule that makes sense. So we wouldn't get less of these movies, or it wouldn't be years before we see another X-Men movies because they have to put out Avengers movies. It'd be able to work cohesively in a way that how they're doing with Spider-Man over at Sony. So I'm hoping of all hopes that this will bring forth positive things, because at the very least, it will, if they reset the timeline of these characters, it will at least improve that, because their timeline is so wonky with all the different time travel and the different things that's going on that don't match up. It'd be able to have a clean slate and be able to retool it and make it more fun. I mean, but not to necessarily to the level of like how an Avengers movie is, because there's always dark elements within X-Men movies, but make it more about the students than they have in the past. So that's what my one cool thing is this week.
God, I thought I was the optimistic dreamer of this group. Jesus.
Bobby has dreams of grandeur like nobody's business. I'm telling
like,
you.
I mean, I don't
share those
I
dreams.
don't knock it, and I share those dreams. Yeah, like, but I'm sitting here going, wow, like your perfect world, Bobby, is a very far ascertainable thing, I feel. But I like it. It's a beautiful thing. Beautiful.
It feels like
beautiful
the goal is to get all the properties back to Marvel Studios.
That's always been the goal, but look at how many years we've gone over, and that goal is still so far away.
Yeah, but the thing is, they've never been in a position to where they felt like they needed to reboot things, because they've been just chugging along and all their movies were doing great. But with so much turmoil and different things, and they even mentioned, I actually forgot to mention the fact that Gambit had been put on hold. And now I guess they're going to try and finally start production next year, but who knows if that'll actually still happen. But between all these different things, the starting of Gambit, losing Hugh Jackman, the last movie not doing good for the X-Men movie, it's just right. It's primed to be able to do something, and maybe they're just taking a wait and see attitude to see what Spider-Man does when it comes out, because this will be the first joint seeing what the fruits of that labor will be and bear out for Sony working with Marvel and pretty much deferring to Marvel as they made this movie. And if it works and it makes Spider-Man revitalized and makes more than that last one did, The Amazing Spider-Man 2, then everything's a business. I don't know why Fox wouldn't want to sit down with Marvel and have those talks about trying to make something to where they can make billions of dollars instead of the millions or the multi-millions, because who wouldn't want to see Avengers versus X-Men in the theaters at some point in time? I mean, it just makes sense to me. Business sense.
Well, we'll see.
I'll take it a step further for big dreams, Bobby. I would love to see Secret Wars on screen. Like, that would be amazing.
That's a big comic to cover, so it would be pretty cool if we can get into some of the other storylines that you kind of can't have just yet. So if you have everybody back home, you'll get to see some really crazy and great things.
Oh, I know, but I'm saying, it's like we were dreaming. Let's just dream big.
Right, I'm sitting here going, I love it.
You're going what? You're not even saying.
Yeah,
I know. Like, my head is exploding right now from the grandiose dreams that are happening on the other end in California. Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, sure.
Well, Well, my one cool thing is much smaller and nowhere near as as exciting, I guess. The film tech geek in me like to see that. It sounds like Star Wars Episode 9 is going to shoot on 65 millimeter. So
really?
that's the plan for Colin Trevorrow and that Episode 9 film. I guess sounds like it was an original dream or hope that Rian Johnson hoped to do with Episode 8. But really just logistically wasn't possible because there's no processing facility in the UK that can handle 65 millimeter. And really, that would mean that he wouldn't see dailies the next day. He'd pretty much have to ship all the footage to the US to get processed. But it looks like Kodak announced that their film processing facility in the UK can now handle 65, and that'll be the plan for Episode 9. And for those listening who are like, what the fuck do I care? Does that matter? Like, I mean, most films, if they're shot on film these days, which a lot of them aren't,
right?
But Episode 7 was shot on 35 millimeter, and Episode 8 is being shot on 35 millimeter. And basically, it just means you're going to get a higher res picture. Especially if you decide you're going to go see this in IMAX, where, you know, it probably will look even better, even though it's not being shot on true IMAX 70 millimeter. But still, it's close. And to me, that's just nothing but good news. I didn't realize, though, that Rogue One's not being shot on film. Rogue One was shot digitally.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I just had goosebumps, by the way.
Oh, yeah?
I got excited.
Get excited?
The film geek in me just was like, ooh.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm happy to hear that they're. I mean, I've been happy to hear this whole time they've been shooting these on film, with the exception of Rogue One. The Rogue One shot in like a 6K resolution.
Is it?
And everything I've seen for Rogue One in the trailers I mean, it looks great. And I've never been against digital. There's a lot of films that I think have a unique digital look, and they look really good.
No.
But yeah, it's exciting to hear that this is being shot on 65. It's too bad they couldn't have done Episode 8 that way, but at least they'll get to do Episode 9.
Right. No, that's cool. That's awesome. God, that's going to look so amazing. Oh my God.
I hope.
Oh, that'll look so good.
No, that'll look awesome. It's too bad they still just can't shoot everything on IMAX 70.
Well,
Like,
in a perfect world, David.
and I mean, like even last night going and seeing Doctor Strange and the one real IMAX theater in town. It's never going to be the same because at that theater, they got rid of their film projector and they put in IMAX Digital. And IMAX Digital looks really, really good. It does not look like IMAX 70. It doesn't. Like, I will cherish the last movie I think I saw there, which was Dark Knight Rises, which was projected on 70 millimeter. And I mean, I've gushed about it so much. It just looks so incredibly amazing, but never again for me. I mean, there's a couple, I think there's like 2 theaters in the state that still have like 70 millimeter projectors, and none of them are in Orlando.
Yeah, one's in Fort Lauderdale.
One's in Fort Lauderdale. I think one's in Tampa.
So you didn't see Hateful Eight in IMAX, the 70?
I saw it in 70 because there
70.
was some theaters in town that, you know, they got the 70 millimeter projectors, but that wasn't IMAX.
They borrowed them.
That was a whole different beast.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Like,
So, yeah. I guess that was the last movie I did see 70 in the IMAX, true IMAX.
That was the last movie I saw in 70, but that wasn't even true IMAX. I mean, that was filmed on 70 millimeter, but I believe the traditional method where it's filmed on the film vertically.
Yes.
Right.
You know, as opposed to IMAX 70 where it's filmed horizontally. You get even a bigger picture. It's ridiculous.
Exactly.
Anyway, I'm getting techie about it, but so yeah, that's my one cool thing this week. Really quick, we haven't talked about box office numbers yet. Doctor Strange in its second weekend came in at number 1 again with 43 million domestically.
That's pretty good. So what did that drop from?
About
Well,
49% drop.
It's about a 50% drop, 49% drop.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
But no, it's not bad. It's doing well.
Yeah.
And especially if you combine it with overseas, it's like almost 500 million.
Yeah,
That's killing it.
it's definitely making good money.
The doctor is in.
Trolls also in its second week of release came in at number 2 with 35 million. We got our new releases then. Arrival at number 3 with 24 million. Almost Christmas at number 4 with 15.5. And then Hacksaw Ridge in its second week of release at number 5. And yeah, that's our top 5 in the box office.
Trolls is number 2, huh?
Trolls is still kicking. Those child movies.
Those kid movies,
those
man.
kid movies, man.
Well, and I have to say, there's not been a lot of kids movies out right now, so I think they were kind of like young kids. I mean, there's Miss Peregrine's, but that isn't geared towards younger kids. This is the first one in a little while, so yeah, no.
Well, I think like the last one was Storks. I don't remember how long ago that one was.
That bombed hard. But like, I feel like I was thinking that like when I went to the theater yesterday to see Arrival, I was like, there's a lot of young kids run. What the hell is happening? And I forgot all about Trolls. And I was like, are they ever Doctor Strange with their parents? Like, I was like, God, there's a lot of kids. I mean, they were everywhere in the theater. I mean, like everywhere in the parking lot, out. And I was like, what the hell is happening? I totally forgot about Trolls.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I think it's important to note too that Hacksaw Ridge added 85 theaters too. So it's not only it's hanging in there in regards to doing well box office wise, but if it keeps at the numbers that they're doing, Lionsgate's going to probably just start putting him in more and more theaters because I'm sure it's good. The problem is that it's a Mel Gibson movie, and
God help
he's like he's a pariah. Like nobody wants to deal with that guy or work with that guy. So it's just like they just don't know how it's going to perform. But it says, I mean, looking at Box Office Mojo. It looks like it's up 85 theaters, so it's increasing in theaters, and that if they do that again next weekend, which they probably won't because we have the release of the Harry Potter thing.
Fantastic Beasts.
Thank you. Oh God,
that Harry Potter thing,
that Harry Potter nonsense or whatever. But I mean. But I mean, it's like if the movie keeps doing well, then they'll probably start putting it in more and more theaters. Just maybe next weekend it might be a little bit rough.
Right.
It might be a little rough for a lot of movies this coming weekend.
So yeah, the box office will be interesting to see next weekend with Fantastic Beasts, of course. And going back to kids movies, the following week I'm really looking forward to Moana.
Oh yeah, that is. Yeah, I forgot that was coming up for Thanksgiving.
It's coming up for Thanksgiving, and I'm looking forward to that. It'll be another opportunity to take my son to the theater. He wants to see it, so I'll definitely take him and check that out.
Go Disney.
But
go Disney.
Go Disney. But yeah, that's what's going on. Anybody got anything else before we get out of here?
No, that's it, I think.
That's all right. Well, it's about time to get going. As always, we'd love to hear back from you guys, and we'd like to know what you thought of the show, everything we've been talking about. You can let us know by emailing us at feedback@flickereffect.com. You can also find us on Facebook, Google+, Twitter, YouTube. You can find links to those accounts on our website. They're over on the right-hand side. I'm David Lott.
I'm Bobby Jackson.
I'm Jascha Wilson.
I'm Michelle Curry.
Thanks for listening.